Hey, how goes it, guys? Welcome to the channel. If you've been on YouTube in the last week or so, and you're a car enthusiast, chances are you've seen a number of videos about this new law coming out that's cracking down on car enthusiasts and their loud exhaust system. I'm sure you have seen them because when I get on YouTube, it seems like I have a new suggested video on the topic literally every time I hit refresh. So it appears that pretty much everyone and their cousin are making videos on this topic. Well, me being a lawyer, a car enthusiast, and a loud exhaust fanatic, of course I'm going to jump on that bandwagon. Or, I guess in my case, ramp on it. Sorry, that was just too easy. But in all seriousness, a lot of these videos that I've watched, and I've read a lot of blog articles on it as well, are grossly inaccurate. And a lot of them are just absolutely false. So, I'm going to try to give you a short little video here that clears up some of these misconceptions about what this law does and what it is. So stay tuned. Okay, so before we get started with this, I want to sort of give a bit of a disclaimer. So as I mentioned, I am an attorney. I am licensed to practice law, but I am not licensed to practice in the state of California. In addition, I am a lawyer, but I'm not your lawyer. Okay, so I'm not giving legal advice. I'm not giving advice on California law, nor am I representing you in any way. Okay, this is only for educational purposes, and in fact, I'm not even going to give my opinion on the interpretation of this law. I'm simply just going to show you the actual language of the laws, the relevant laws, and show you how to find them. So this is actually just a tutorial on how to find good information and distinguish it from bad information. Now guys, before I get started with this, if you find this to be helpful and clear up any of the confusion, if you would do me a favor and like this video so that hopefully it will get circulated more and reach more people, because the ultimate purpose for me making this video is to try to help clear up some of this misinformation. So if it does help you, please like it and share it so that hopefully we can reach more people and clear it up. So with that out of the way, let me kind of explain just briefly what this law is and what it's not, okay? First of all, technically it's not a new law. In case you don't know, California implemented a bill that essentially amends existing law that relates to exhaust regulations. This assembly bill makes several changes to various sections of the California Code, but part of it does amend a little bit of the relevant exhaust laws. I've heard so many different opinions on this, and people like stating that this is a new law that's cracking down on car enthusiasts, making it illegal to modify your exhaust system. I've even heard some say that it's making it illegal to even own a car from the factory, like a Corvette or a Camaro or a Mustang that's got the louder exhaust systems on them. Now those are illegal and you're gonna have to change your exhaust. Okay, none of that's true, all right? In fact, this didn't change anything. Nothing is different about the rules about exhaust. The only thing that's different is the punishment, the consequences that you get if you violate the existing rules, okay? Prior to this assembly bill, the consequences could simply just be a fix-it ticket, meaning that if you got cited for violation and, it was proven that you actually did violate it, you just had 30 days to fix it. Well, now, Now they've made it a little bit more strict, and you're probably going to get a ticket if you did in fact violate it. Something else that's floating around out there is, and I see this in nearly every video or blog post I read, not all of them, but a high majority, is they, even if they get the other part close to correct, they still say that it's an automatic $1,000 fine. That's not true either. There are guidelines that they have to follow, and I'm going to show you in just a minute how they calculate what your fine will be. Now, I'm not saying you won't get a $1,000 fine. I'm just saying that it's not a mandatory thing. It's not going to automatically happen. Now, I know you've probably seen that clip of that cop saying that that's what's going to happen, but that's not right. And again, this is not my opinion. This is not, I'm not going to, give you my opinion on what I think about the law, how I interpret it. I'm simply just going to show you the actual language of it so you can, know for yourself instead of listening to other people, that either are trying to stir up drama to get views, or the more likely situation is that they just don't know and they are listening to others that are incorrect and they're just not doing their own research. And so this is kind of just a reminder that you should always, go to the actual source and look at it for yourself. Don't rely on others. Don't rely on hearsay. All right? So with that out of the way, I'm going to switch over to my computer screen so we can look at the actual wording of these rules. Okay, so anytime something like this comes up, it's always best practices to go to the actual source. Alright, don't rely on, YouTube videos or blog posts or unofficial sources. Like, always go to the actual source, namely the law itself. Obviously, if you're being represented by legal counsel or other professionals, you should, give them discretion to an extent, of course. But, otherwise, when you're just trying to look up something, you need to always make sure you look at the official source. Okay, so what I have here is the actual text of Assembly Bill number 1824. This is, as you see, this is on the official, government website. That's another thing. You should always try to find government websites when you're looking up stuff like this. You can be more certain that they are, accurate. Literally anyone can buy a domain name and put up a website and write content on it, with virtually no experience or expertise in the subject. Same goes for YouTube. As you know, anybody can make a YouTube channel and say whatever they want. So you just have to take what you see on the internet with a grain of salt. Anyway, this is the actual language of, AB 1824. There's a lot going on here. A lot of, changes that are not relevant to the exhaust law, but this part right here is what we're interested in, specifically this last part here. So basically what this is saying is that, you can read it for yourself, basically there is already an existing law that, prohibits certain types of modifications to your car, namely those that make your vehicle exceed existing noise limits, or exceed a decimal range. And I'll get to that in a minute, but the maximum decibel limit is 95 decibels. I'll explain that in a minute. But this right here is basically what has changed. So now, basically, in a nutshell, the only thing that's changed is that prior to this, the relevant law allowed for a police officer to simply just give you, quote-unquote, a fix-it ticket, which would, tell you, okay, well, you must get it fixed, and then you had, I think, 30 days to go remedy that problem, and if you did, you're off the hook. Well, now that's been changed a bit, and now you'll likely get a fine instead of just a warning. But before we go into that, let's go and look at the actual law, okay? As you saw back here in the AB 1824, it's talking about existing law. Okay, let's go look at that. And again, this is the official government website, so we know this is legitimate. You can access this too. It's not just, me being a lawyer. I do have access to probably more resources than, lay people, but, this is not that. This is just on the internet. You have access to it as well. So we go here. And see, so this is the relevant, all of this really is relevant to exhaust. or most of it is. But as you see, this says, well, I'm not going to read it all. It's basically saying that you have to have, adequate mufflers, and you can't have cutouts or bypasses or anything like that. But the thing is that the misconception here is I've seen tons of, videos and blog articles and whatever out there that are saying that this has changed the law in terms of what is legal. That's not true. This has been in effect. This has been around since 2003. Okay, since 2003, it's always been just as illegal to have an exhaust system if it makes your exhaust louder than that 95 decibel threshold. And we can see that right here. See, it says exhaust systems installed on motor vehicles, and then it exempts motorcycles. Gross weight of less than 6,000 pounds. Comply with section 27150 and 27151 if they emit no more than 95 dBA, which means decibels, when tested in accordance with Society of Automotive Engineers Standard J1169. Now, I've heard some about maybe this is outdated and they're trying to get a new updated, standard here, but we're not going to go into that. The point is that this has been in effect since 2003. Okay, nothing changed. It was just as illegal, prior to this 2019 update as it is now. The only thing that's changed is the punishment, essentially. Okay, and so this right here brings me to something else, alright? I've seen a lot of information on this, and they're saying, that if you get pulled over for this, it's an automatic $1,000 fine. And that's actually not true either. I'm going to get to that in a minute. There's actually guidelines that they follow to determine how much the ticket will be. It is not an automatic. But even if you do get stopped for this, and the police officer reasonably believes that your car does exceed that 95 decibel threshold, you still may be able to get out of paying the ticket. Right here is basically the guidelines that they had to follow to determine whether or not you are in compliance with the law. And what this is it's, as it says, it's a society, and they have established guidelines, and I'm not going to go into detail, but essentially you can look this up. There's videos and articles out there that seems to explain it fairly accurately. Basically what happens is you take your car to the referee, and they place a decibel reader so far away from the exhaust and let the car idle and see what the decibel range is, and then they rev the car to 2,500 RPMs and see what the range is. If it does not exceed 95 decibels, as this standard dictates, then you're in compliance, and the referee will give you a certificate of compliance, and you take it, and then you take it to the judge, and he will throw the ticket out. So all this about the cops are going to just automatically give you a $1,000 fine if they think your exhaust sounds too loud. That's not true. Now, I'm not saying that they will not give you a $1,000 fine. It is possible that they'll do that. I know there's been claims that they have done that, and we've all seen that clip of that cop telling that lady in the car that's what's going to happen. But that is, as you see here, there's nothing in this law or the changes in the bill that mandate a $1,000 ticket. In fact, there is another set of guidelines, and if you go right here, we look at the Uniform Bail and Penalty Schedule for 2019, and if we search for the relevant section of the code, we see here, these are the sections of the code, and these are the guidelines for the penalty. And as you see, most of these is a base fine of $25. Okay, now, as you see, there are additional fees and things that can accumulate, and you do have to go. I think you do have to pay for the inspection and all that with the referee. So, the total cost may, significantly exceed this, but there is not a mandatory fine of $1,000. That's just not true. That if you get pulled over for loud exhaust, even if it does exceed the 95 decibel range, that you're going to get a $1,000 fine. Now, I'm not saying you won't, but you're not, it's not guaranteed. So the people that are saying that are just, that's incorrect. So it's, I know I've been talking pretty fast, and I'm throwing a lot at you, and we're reading a lot of technical, jargony text. But if you're wanting to look at something that explains it simple and succinctly, I suggest looking at this article that the SEMA Action Network provided. I know we've all heard of SEMA as car guys. From what I can see, it looks pretty accurate, and it's really short. So you can look through here, basically like frequently asked questions, I suppose. Gives a simple summary of what the issue is, and see, like, here's some, the question: were California's exhaust noise rules changed? And no. See, just like I said, since 2003, the rule has been the same. If the exhaust system is inadequate, and it causes the sound level to be over 95 decibels when tested under this standard, the SAE standard, and I briefly explained that earlier, it'll be in violation. And that's been the same since 2003. The AB 1824 did not change that. So is it illegal to install an aftermarket exhaust system on your vehicle? And no. See, again, as long as it doesn't exceed that 95 decibel range, you're fine. It's always been the case since 2003. There's nothing new. Okay, so if that didn't change, what did? Well, just as I've been saying, the only difference now is the punishment you're going to get if you do violate this existing rule. Before, you just got a fix-it ticket, which allowed 30 days for you to correct the violation. Now, it appears that, or likely, you probably will get some sort of ticket. Will it be $1,000? I don't know, but, it's not guaranteed you're going to get a $1,000 ticket. And that they explain that here, too. If I get pulled over, will I receive a $1,000 fine? According to the Judicial Council of California's Uniform Bail and Penalty Schedules, 2019, and that's what I showed you here. This is the official document. I'll link this in the description. I'll link all this in the description. The suggested base fine or fee for a first conviction is $25 with a total fee of $193. Okay, so like I said, it is possible that these people are getting a $1,000 fine, and I know that cops said that, but like I said, the cops don't make the rules. The cops, can't decide. They just enforce the rules, and sometimes, they may tell you something is illegal that it's really not, or either because they don't know, or maybe they're just trying to scare you, just whatever. But the moral of the story is, you need to do your research and find out exactly what's going on, for yourself. Don't listen to other people's interpretations of rules. Alright guys, so there it was. I tried to show you, the actual language of the rules, and try to explain a little bit of, how it works. Again, this was primarily just a tutorial on how to find, reliable information and how to distinguish it from not so reliable information. Now, I've also linked all of the sources that I showed you here down in the description. So go down there and check them out so you can look at them for yourself. But guys, again, I want to remind you, if you did find this helpful, and if it did clear up some of the confusion or misinformation you've heard, please go ahead and like the video so that hopefully YouTube will circulate it a bit more, and share it with your friends, because like I said, my primary purpose for this video is to just simply clear up misinformation. Because guys, stuff like this is why, largely why we're so divided. We have such different opinions about everything, is largely because there's so much misinformation floating around, and so we don't know what to believe. Okay, but just remember guys, just things like this. If something sounds weird or, bizarre or out of place, just think about it a little bit, do some research. It's probably not as bad and dramatic as, it's being said to be. But anyway, just hopefully this was helpful. And like I said, like it, share it. Like I said, I don't usually do this type of thing on my channel. This is a brand new channel, but this is a, more of an entertainment channel. I try to do funny skits. I do car related content. I have a 1983 square body Chevy C10 that I feature most of the time. If you'd like to check out some of my other videos, certainly go on over to my homepage. So I think that's all, and I'll see you next time.